Before we begin, in 2019, YouTube was caught data mining children under the age of 13, violating the Child's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA. Since settling, YouTube has enacted new policies meant to dodge responsibility and scapegoat creators. This video is not made for kids. It is not targeted at kids. It is not advertising to kids. Parental discretion is advised. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is the Sentinel watching over Geekdom, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. It's Monday, which means Doctor Who Series 12 time again, starting with Episode 9, Part 1 of the Series 12 finale, Ascension of the Cybermen, written by Chris Chibnall. As always, I will be talking spoilers, so this is your only warning. If you haven't seen the episode yet, I suggest stopping this video and going to find it before we go any further. And Ascension of the Cybermen. There's a lot going on in this episode, and I'm probably going to miss talking about a lot of stuff, and I don't even know where to start if we're being honest. I know. This episode has 3 plot lines going on. We have the Doctor and Ryan, we have Yaz and Graham, and we have a new character for this story named Brendan. And my biggest problem with this episode is these plot lines all feel very dissociated from each other. Like, the Doctor and Ryan and Yaz and Graham, they obviously have something linking them, but they don't feel connected. And especially with the Brendan plot, which the Brendan plot is very interesting, and I want to see where it goes, especially with the ending. Like, when I was watching it, until we got the end of this episode and what happened there, I didn't realize that the cop who found him and his parents weren't aging. But I can't really talk about the Brendan plot anymore because I feel like this was only the setup to it. I think most of it will pay off in part 2 of this finale, The Timeless Children. And that really is the biggest hurdle with talking about this episode. This is so very clearly a part 1. And anything I might have issues with, or anything I'm not sure what's going on, we can't talk about until we see how part 2 plays out, and to know if anything here was paid off, and what have you. So, yeah, that's why I'm not rating it either, because this is obviously part 1 of a 2-part story. So I'm going, next week, when we look at The Timeless Children, I'm going to give my rating on the story as a whole, rather than rate this episode and rate that episode. So, this episode, obviously, picking up where The Haunting of Villa Diodati left off, has a strong focus on the Cybermen. And, actually, real quick, with Ashad, the lone Cyberman, last week I didn't notice his arm also wasn't converted. That's a nice touch, but speaking specifically of Ashad, looking at him in this story, and with his opening monologue, and now thinking about it in hindsight, is anyone else sort of, with his performance, sort of getting David Banks vibes from him? Because, like, it really feels like he's sort of playing it like the cyber leader from the 80s Cybermen stories. You know, not just that his subordinates call him leader, like the 80s Cybermen did, but he plays it very, for lack of a better word, melodramatically, you know? Like, they always say the Cybermen don't have their emotions, but with the 80s Cybermen in particular, you really kind of question that, because like I said, the cyber leader is very melodramatic. He has a penchant for monologuing, really, and when his plans fail, he becomes enraged. And like with the lone Cyberman, as was explained last week, it seemed his conversion was stopped before his, neural inhibitor was input, so he still feels his emotions. So, like I said, because of that, he feels a lot like the cyber leader, like the 80s Cybermen. Speaking of the Cybermen, that's where I'll start with this. When I saw these 2 episode titles and kind of saw previews and their plot synopsis, I was really worried because, you know, it sounded like they were going to tie the Cybermen into Gallifrey and the Time Lords in some way, and I had issues with that because of the Cybermen's history, because of their backstory, and because of their goals, you know, continuation of the cyber race and their survival, the Cybermen only care about humans, you know? If it's not human, they don't care. And I'm going to circle back to that point in a moment. But the other thing is, my big issue going from Classic Who to New Who, I hate how overpowered the Cybermen are. Like, I don't mean to diminish them. I don't mean to say they're weak. Because they're not. They're a very viable threat. They're very dangerous. But they should not be on par with the Daleks at all. Like, Daleks versus Cybermen should not be a thing because the Daleks would just wipe the floor with them. And that's, yeah, but no, that's, like I said, my big thing with New Who. The New Who Cybermen are ridiculously overpowered. And actually, that's it on that point. But yeah, seeing that this storyline, this finale, is going to tie them into Gallifrey in some way, tie them into the Time Lords in some way, we need to see how Part 2 pays that off, because otherwise, I'm already not a fan. There was something else I wanted to say. This is my second take of this, by the way, because about halfway through recording my first take, I realized my mic wasn't on. But yeah, let's see. Real quick, the cyber drones were very stupid. And, well, not just that. Because to me, it feels like they wanted to use the cybermats, but halfway through, for whatever reason, someone decided, no, we can't use those, or we don't want to use those. And they came up with the cyber drones in their place, and it's just, okay, there were ways to go about that, but the way they went about it was just ridiculous. Okay, so now remember that plot point I said we were going to circle back to? Let's circle back to it right now. The lone Cyberman finds one of the last humans and lets him go. He says, tell the universe my story. Tell him the cyber race will be revived, and we're coming for them. And the line he says exactly is, all life will fail. Now, like I said initially, I have issues with sort of that New Who depiction of the Cybermen, because like I said, if it's human, they don't care. But because this is at a point in the future where this is the last of the human race, this does bring up an interesting question, you know? And it's a question we've seen the Doctor ask the Daleks, but we've never seen it asked with the Cybermen. So I think there's some interesting things to talk about there. Because, you know, with the Daleks, their goal has always been the complete extermination of the universe. Only the Daleks would survive. And every time she meets them, the Doctor always says, and what's going to happen when you achieve your goal? When you destroy everything else and the Daleks are all that's left, what's going to happen? And the way the lone Cyberman said this, the way he set this up, that brought about an interesting question. When humanity has been converted, when it's all Cybermen, when there are no humans left, what's next? I don't think this question will ever get answered, but I thought it was just something interesting. And yeah, there is one more thing. We got a new Cyberman design. It's basically the Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi Cyberman bodies with a new head. And the head I would describe as a combination of the 80s Cybermen and the Invasion Cybermen. And I like the head. The head is a cool design. Not so much the body. Here's my thoughts on the New Who Cybermen. Like everyone, I don't like them because it's too robotic, but I feel I can justify that much more. You know, as we keep meeting the Cybermen, we keep seeing more about their timeline in the future. The Cybermen have been in wars, skirmishes, all these battles and stuff, and they keep losing. So to me, narratively, it makes sense that as they keep converting and upgrading, they would eventually start building armor. And because I can justify it narratively, I don't dislike the New Who Cybermen as much as other people. I still think it's too robotic. I don't care for it, but it's not my least favorite design. If you're curious, and you're gonna hate me, my least favorite Cyberman design is the Patrick Troughton Cybermen, the Moonbase, Tomb of the Cybermen, and Wheel in Space Cybermen. But yeah, those are sort of my thoughts on the Cybermen in this episode. Let's talk about some of the other stuff. One thing I've noticed with Series 12 is the companions have really been getting shafted a lot. You know, it's like they were introduced in Series 11 and they had more to do. They had some relevance to the plot, varying episode to episode. But here it feels like they get pushed to the background, especially in this episode. You know, like Ryan's with the Doctor, which, thinking about it, that's not really a dynamic we've seen a lot with this team. You know, whenever they split up, it always seems to be the Doctor and Yaz and Graham and Ryan. Which kind of makes sense, understandably. Graham is Ryan's grandfather. But nothing is done, and because of this other character that they're with, we don't really... Ryan is pushed to the background because the Doctor is interested in... You know, because the Doctor is interacting with this other character who was born during these cyber wars. Also, fun note on the Doctor, as they're hotwiring a cyber ship to steal, and she's hotwiring the warp drive, she says something like, "Oh, this is a warp drive. These are difficult to hotwire, unless you're me. I did these on weekends as a teenager. Except we didn't have weekends. Or teenagers. Looms are canon." Yeah, no, I'm seriously in that camp. Looms are canon, and it's awesome. And like I said, this is the second time I believe there was a reference in Series 11. I wish I remembered what it was. That Chibnall has acknowledged the looms, basically. Which, if the Timeless Children goes the way we're going to see it go, let's cross that bridge when we get to it. But also, Jodie Whittaker, once again, gives a just stellar performance. Like, when the TARDIS team first shows up at this settlement, this refugee site where these last surviving humans are, she comes with all this tech to try and fight off the Cybermen, like a machine that emits gold particles into the air, which made me squeak. Yay, the gold thing is back. Although I was fine with it being gone because, you know, the Cybermen's allergy to gold was used smart at first because gold dust clogs their respiratory systems. And then it got really stupid. Silver Nemesis ruined the gold thing. But yeah, I thought that was cool. And then the Cybermen attacked and destroyed all her defenses. And things just seriously shot up to 11. Like, she made the Doctor made Yaz, Graham, and Ryan leave with the survivors. Because, and that was such a good scene. She's like, "I was an idiot. The Cybermen convert humans. You need to go." And again, all throughout this episode, like all throughout Series 11 and 12, her performance has just been amazing. Especially her conversation, her discussion with the lone Cyberman, with Ashad on the ship. That scene is just great. And another really good 13th Doctor moment. And it's also interesting, I forgot to bring this up, but one of my friends pointed out that when the 10th planet was the Cyberman creator, Kit Pedler, originally had this idea for the Cybermen to have sort of a pseudo-religion of some sort. You know, as sort of with the conversion and everything, and they see themselves when they're converted into becoming a higher being. And through Ashad, that idea was kind of present, and I thought that was really cool. And I guess all that's really... Let's see, I've talked about the Brendan plot, I've talked about the Cybermen, I talked about the Doctor. All that's really left to talk about the Yaz and Graham plot, which... it was okay. I think it was the weakest part of the episode. Although I did think Yaz and Graham actually, like Demons of the Punjab, had a great chemistry. They played off each other really well. But there's not really more to talk about. The Doctor finds this place called the Boundary, where humans escaping the Cybermen would flee and go to somewhere else. and she finds that the Boundary has been taking people to Gallifrey. And the Master shows up again. Which, that was great, but yeah. One more thing I'll end on. Joey Morgan of Security Kitchen Productions brought this up, and I have to agree with him. This isn't the greatest part 1 of all time. Like, this isn't a big, huge, sensational buildup. Excuse me. You know, it's not big like Utopia, or Darkwater, or Heaven Sent, or World Enough in Time. But I like that, because it means the payoff is not going to be impossible to follow. You know? So, I am really looking forward to next week. Like I said, I'm not rating this episode because this is obviously part 1, and next week, with the second half, I will rate the full story. So those are my thoughts on Ascension of the Cybermen. What are yours? Share in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share my video around as it helps my channel grow. In the description box below, you'll find the link to my Ko-fi, where you can help support the channel, and you'll find the link to my Twitter, where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is the Sentinel, watching over Geekdom, and I'll see you guys next time.